Hi there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this in the world. Welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. And I am Michelle Jones, and I am here with
Scott Collins
my brother from another mother. Howdy. How are you today?
from another star system. There-
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. So we've joked around. And so like today, we're talking about igniting empowerment, right? And how expanded consciousness unlocks our inner authority. And you and I kind of talked about like the energetic surf report, like what's going on out there. And so I'm going to kind of just jump in with you, Scott, and talk about our little Empower Ranger like forecast and kind of energetically what's been going on out there in terms of empowerment and just people's vibe and their experience. What have you picked up on, bro?
Yeah, well, I definitely am glad we're taping this today and not the last couple of days because those that are in tune and feel the planets sensitively, it's been quite a intense couple of days with the recent full moon in Taurus and Saturn going direct in Pisces. So, um, if you're not familiar with astrology, I do just recommend everybody just dip your toes in there. It certainly can help you move through energetic shifts, just understanding what is going on outside of Earth. Um, as far as what you just mentioned, uh, awareness, right? That's a big part of what we're talking about today. And um, just to like really trim all the fat off of awareness. I think once we, why it's so important, why is awareness so important? Hmm. I believe it's really valuable because once awareness sets in, basically everything that we experience in life comes down to a response from us. If we don't have awareness, we may be moving through all of our experiences unknowingly without a barometer, without a compass. But once awareness sets in, there every single thing is just a response. It's an opportunity to respond in a certain way. And we choose that way.
I was gonna if that response is legit, like the choice, right, bro? Like that's really what is so beautiful in like Earth School is that we get to have this great opportunity of choice when we have awareness. It's you and I say this often. Well, maybe I say it often. You just have to listen, which is you can't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, like, that's, like, legit, it's no pun intended. So, with all of that said, I think that for you and I both, brother, we have had different expanded awarenesses. For me, I would say that my initial expanded sense of awareness came through hypnotherapy, right? Having experienced a significant trauma in my life and really wanting to still be Michelle, even though I had gone through this experience. I wanted to have an awareness of myself beyond that experience, and I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know. And, this, that after I had gone through that trauma, somebody who's a shaman had suggested to me that I use psilocybin and do a guided journey. And I had never had any experiences before with that. And I was so uncomfortable. And actually, my father had begged me not to see a psychiatrist because he's like, you don't respond to medication normally, in the way that most people do. So maybe you should find a shaman. And I was like, what, where am I going to find a shaman? Like in the yellow pages? Like I'm going to like, oh, like on the internet, like shaman, like Nashville, like what are you talking about, dude?" And so it was, and I think it was actually my father's higher self telling me that. Like, I don't even think that he has the awareness of what that opens up, but it was completely aligned. And so for me, hypnotherapy, then psilocybin, and then this very significant period for me of expanded awareness and consciousness working as a hypnotherapist with people, right?
Yeah, that's a really profound trajectory because it's possible that the unconscious is the portal with which we access consciousness. And hypnotherapy, uh, and particularly, I really believe plant medicine are profound ways to help us access that portal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in accessing that portal, for me, I actually realized that I was the expert on me. Empowering and simultaneously, very, I would say, powerful,
Yeah.
which also being a little bit of a perfectionist, it was a little bit of pressure. Like, oh shit, this is all riding on me,
Right.
but
Say that was, would you describe that experience as you felt like you had achieved access that empowerment, or was it something that you just remembered that was innate to you?
I would say at that time, I thought that it was something that I was achieving. I think that it took me until much later in my life to realize that it actually was something I had to remember, and it was an innate authority within me that I just contracted to forget to come to Earth School.
Right. Yeah.
That was really for me and I would say that's kind of a recent awareness.
Uh, Pretty cataclysmic one too, right? That it's always been there, and therefore means we all have it. We each of us has that. Uh, just need to turn on the light switch. Turn on the
That's what I was gonna say is like, so for you, Scott, expanded consciousness, like your experiences with it, or, and this is just a little bit of like a question that I'm gonna ask, like Rosalia when she comes on with us, but like for you, expanded consciousness, greater awareness, and empowerment in your life today.
yeah. Well, and what it has done, the way it affects my life, is it allows me to see, feel, and experience every other human being in a different way. Like you can truly access that mirror. I realize what, I'm getting reflection exactly back to what I need to move through to hopefully ping pong on an ascension path somewhere. When I experience it with the awareness that they're just a fragment of the universe like myself,
Mhm.
and the collective experience starts to make a little bit more sense to us. And that, again, that's just the unconscious mind waking up to the awareness and then bringing it to a conscious earth experience.
When you bring when you bring it to a conscious earth experience, what are you feeling? How does your heart inform you that you're actually in that place? And that's
Yeah, yeah, that's profound. And we've talked about this a lot. The understanding, or really the acceptance, that the heart is the true intelligence over our brain. The gut is primal. They're all, but that's the intelligence. It's not all in one spot, but it does emanate the highest intelligence from the heart source. And then the heart can inform us that we do have control over our thoughts. And sometimes the thought directly affects the experience. Like, I heard someone say recently, I thought this was really valid, that the universe isn't a separate consciousness or intelligence from us. We're just a smaller fragment of that. So how we choose to experience something is how we experience it. If you're telling yourself, "This is gonna be terrible," then that's exactly why you get back immediately when you walk into that experience or that situation. But if you tell yourself it's gonna be hilarious, you're
Yeah.
probably gonna experience it that way. So, but that has to emanate from here,
Totally.
and the understanding this is the main intelligence, and then this is just the accomplice to everything we experience.
So essentially leading from that heart in that super driven space, we have to always hold that vibration. And, with that note, I think that we could open up our hearts and kind of enter into a space where we're going to invite our guest, Rosalia Quintana, who is a incredible Renaissance woman. I just love that we're meeting people, Scott, and introducing people to folks that do so many different things. It just shows us how one thing leads to another. You and I have talked about that a whole lot, and we're so much fuller now than what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's just like that one thing. So, Rosalia is a nurse practitioner, she is an author, she's a spiritual leader for absolute sure. She's breath work specialist, and I can't wait to speak to her about zebra therapy. She actually brought up when I was reading stuff about her bio, there were two things. So, like blue butterflies and zebras that I love that we already share in common. So, without further ado, we'd like to welcome Rosalia Quintana to Empowerment Unleashed Now. Give her lots of love and waves of love and light and gratitude for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming and for joining us today. And look, you have a beautiful blue butterfly behind you.
I do. It has a lot of meaning for me.
So, Rosalia, I'm going to ask you a question right off the bat, and it's something that we are asking people. What in your life is leading you to the greatest level of empowerment right now that you're experiencing?
Joy, following my joy. That
Yes.
I have completely shifted from kind of like that logical, um, if you want to say also kind of like male patriarchal way of operating, and achieving and having to do and this type to following my joy. I would have never allowed myself. I felt a lot of guilt around that, like allowing myself time to enjoy and follow my what makes me happy. For example, art, painting is one of those things, writing poetry, kind of allowing space for that. And that has allowed me to birth programs and creation that I can share with others from a totally different energy, different place that growing up coming from a Hispanic Cuban background, absolutely not possible. Like it's just a big no-no. Like, no, you got to work until you die. You got to work hard, and having an actual job is the only way to do this. And there's no time for enjoyment. Just work, work, work. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I
yeah.
come from a Spanish American family, so very similar. You work, you work, you work harder, and yeah, there's not time for fun until you quote unquote retire.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you'll have the health then to it.
Whenever that kind of comes, for sure. And so, Rosalia, you work in a very intimate way with a lot of your patients, clients. What do you refer to your folks as?
So clients would be on my private practice, my one-on-ones. But I still work as a nurse practitioner. I supervise 5 other offices, and the way I you were talking about awareness. So the way I interact with my actual patients has completely shifted. As to before was like, okay, here's your prescription. Okay, what's next? What's next? Or, like just very automatic without really making that human connection. Um, I literally just sit there and I'm perceiving beyond what they're coming in for, and our conversations completely shift. Like, they open up about what they're going through. Maybe there's something I say or something I recommend, or like a lot of people come in, they're dealing with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, a lot of that stuff. So I literally take my time to walk them through like a short breathwork practice, give them some little tips and tricks as how to regulate their nervous system. Just completely kind of look at the patient, the actual patient, more as a whole, maybe recommend a nice book that can open up a little door of awareness for them, and look at life a little bit different that otherwise would have never come into their into their hands. And just see myself as an instrument of the divine. Like, okay, how can I be of service to myself, because it's myself sitting right across from me. So how
Yeah.
would I better be of service to myself at this point?
hmm So true. The sacred mirror work, that I do with clients, I'm so clear that this is just another me that's sitting in front of me. And people are very, I would say, touched that a conversation, even listening to one such as this, can actually be so impactful that it shifts their entire awareness about who they are, about what
100%.
they can do.
Yeah.
And I think that these meaningful conversations, unfortunately, somehow have been lost along the way, you know? And I think there was some intention around separating us for so long that then we didn't know how to come back together. And we had to learn how to have conversation again and not be awkward, or if we're empathic, not be drained. Can you tell us a little bit, Rosalia, about what kind of created this more expanded trajectory for you to working with your patients and then in private practice with your clients? Something obviously shifted for you that was very significant.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a little overview. In 2018, I had a pretty big crisis. I guess, my dark night of the soul really just like amped up. I had suicidal ideation at that time. I could not find a purpose to get up in the morning, as crazy as that may sound. But if you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like you have just blinders on and you can't see, you know, beyond what you're going through at that point. And I just started searching for anything that, well, I couldn't give up. I had kids. That was not going to be an option for me. So I was like, okay, let me look at some other alternatives. I also didn't want to be on meds coming from, Western medicine and having the background. I know what, the side effects of the meds are and what that could do for you, and really was not the right fit for me personally, not to discourage anybody from medical care. Because I'm a big advocate for, like, if you need the help, ask for the help. If you need the meds right now, it's okay. Later you can incorporate other things and wean off if you need, or whatever it is. But if you need the help and you need the meds, please go ahead. I think finding that balance between, practices, holistic practices, and the Western is very important. So I started looking for things outside, right? Like, okay, what can I do? What can help me? I came across a lot of beautiful teachers in my life, Akashic records, breath work, energy work, just all of these things. And I was like, well, at least there's something else, which was something. For me, that was like a little life, like a little lifesaver that they threw at me. I'm like, okay, let me just hang on to this for now. And okay, let me keep swimming. There's got to be something else.
Yes.
I had this deep void, like I couldn't fill it with anything material or nothing. There's no substance. There's just nothing that could feel this. And I didn't really know what it was. I went through a lot of different religions, just kind of looking for, I don't know, for something. I wasn't sure what I was looking for even. Um, and I've been a lot of back and forth with God, like, where is God? Why is this happening? All that we're living as a humanity, it's kind of very complex, a lot of layers for this micro awareness to understand the macro, right? So everything served me very, very much, including plant medicine that I started working with. The calling for the medicine came through me through a breathwork practice. Literally, I saw myself taking off all the layers of everything I was, right? Female, mom, nurse practitioner, everything, all of it, all of it, all of it. And I stayed in this little ball of energy. Just that's it, just a little ball of energy. And then the medicine, came forward with the calling to work with. So that was very clear for me. Like, I mean, I was just like, okay, I get it. It's time. I didn't do any research at that time. I really had no idea. I wasn't bothered by external information around the medicine. I just went through the experience that I had. And I was like, I'm going forward with that. I'm following that calling, regardless of anything. And sure thing, I asked the person where I had the this, I guess, breakthrough, of what I should do next. Um, the guide, I said, do you happen to know anybody that works with plants? That's what I said. I didn't know what the name was, what it was called, something like that. I said with like plants or medicines of the earth or something like that. I didn't know anything else beyond that. And he said, "Oh yeah, my taita, so and so, whatever, whatever." I said, "Listen, I don't know anything, but just please share that number with me." Um, and that's it. After that, I started working with plant medicine, and that helped me a lot to expand my awareness. I felt a lot of connection to the earth, a lot of more love, more compassion. I was able to work through a lot of my own trauma and see it from a different angle. So that was beautiful as well. However, it it's like I still have this something that I just couldn't. It was like something was, I don't want to say not convincing me, but I was like, "Ugh, this cannot just be it. Like, I know there's something else. Like this, I don't know. It's just like, just not convinced with, I guess, the answers I had at that time. Like, I was still longing for something else. I just didn't know what it was. Um, but it helped a lot. And it wasn't until 2022 where I had a near-death experience. Now that really just completely shifted my entire existence. Like, I'm just glad to be alive, to be here, um, to be of support for my family, to breathe, to like honestly, I was the most ungrateful person waking up. I would just wake up cranky and mad and just like, oh, here we go again, another day. Like, I just couldn't
Yeah.
get, I couldn't feel that true gratitude. Like I would say, affirmations and I would try to push grateful, but I couldn't actually feel it. It was almost like I wasn't being honest with myself. It's like almost having to push myself to get through the day. And after this experience, the only thing I do in the morning is just be absolutely grateful for opening my eyes. Like, like, thank you for another opportunity to be of service to myself, to be here for my family. And it took a long time for me to be okay to what we can. There's a lot of words and things I'm going to be using that don't do justice to the concepts because they're onion concepts. Like the
Yeah.
way I see it now, it's not the way I saw it a year ago or 2 years ago, or the words we use for them are multidimensional, multi-layered that also could be misconstrued and perceived differently from your point, from everyone's point, right? So
Yeah.
um I would just say, you know, little by little, I've been able to just change and the way I look with new pair of glasses at life, if it makes any sense. And then those pair of glasses, the graduation for the prescription I need change,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
Would you say that you're saying there was something missing? You could feel it, something, and you'd successfully already, in my opinion, achieved like a pretty impressive amount of ascension leading up to that. And I feel like maybe intuition was a big part of that, but that you attracted that experience, pretty profound one, to find that missing link, which was gratitude.
Mm. Wow. Thank you for reflect. I had not
I mean, that's
thought.
profound. You attracted something severe, but would you say that's a massive gift that you received out of it?
I would say it saved my life. I would not be sitting in this chair having this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now all those little lenses, now you're just attracting maybe lesser perilous experiences to have because you've got gratitude and you're having now these, okay, now I'm just focusing the lenses a little more along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I had not
It's profound.
looked at it that way. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful.
Another question about your the path even getting you there to when you had to experience that. Um but and first of all, just like Michelle said, your your Renaissance presence in this Earth School, I deep vow to you for like that's um I value that immensely. I feel like that's where once we go full on into Aquarius, that is our destiny as humans. Like that is what we should be. I call it. I think you're doing this. I'll talk about it. I'll say it's our martial art. The way Bruce Lee took all the martial arts and created this one that was unique out of all those, made his own personalized thing. I feel like that's what we all can do now with the information, uh, experiences, history, all of it that we have access to is create our own little martial art to ascension. Like, and that's what you're doing. You know, you took all these little modalities, you trusted your intuition about plant medicine, and then what it revealed to you, you trusted that further without even knowing. You just trusted it. You believed. And so I guess my question for you, because this is something I encounter a lot too, is how important is bravery and courage when it comes to trusting your intuition? How you did coming out of that when you know when you said you just left logic in the trash bin, you deleted that, put it in the bin, and then you took in your bravery and courage to follow your belief. And then are you also using that with your intuition now when you are helping your clients develop their martial art? Because I sense that that's what you're doing too. You're sitting there and intuitively getting how can I help them? How can I help that mirror?
Thank you for bringing that. Actually, intuition, I feel it's like my only compass right now. It's the only way I operate or make decisions. I no longer, and coming from a very, I guess you would say, scientific way of studying and understanding life and operating, it was difficult for me to follow that. And also operating from more of a masculine side. I left home very early on. I always had several jobs. So I was just very kind of like in that survival, just doing state. I wasn't very connected to my feminine energy, to what that even meant or what it could do, how intuition had to do with any of that. I think there's a point where suffering is so great that the courage becomes like your options are so limited. You're like, okay, well, either I'm no longer here or I do something different. So that's
Mm.
where that my options were at that time. I couldn't see infinite possibilities. I was so blinded. So to me, I basically had two options, and the options were so I guess the other one was so bad that I was like, well, let me build up some courage and just try something else. But that courage is that I would say that free will key. Um, like I say that our will, it's kind of like making your own sword, like shaping your sword of the how are you going to use that will to make those reactions or decisions or because it can get very complex or it can for me to understand what our soul might have chosen prior to incarnating, which like I could see I chose my parents before incarnating the place of birth. So I'm not sure to the extent of how much I chose before versus how much I'm choosing presently. And it can also get very complex from what I see. And then the experience I had, I understand that I don't understand it to the wholeness of it. It's like I got a little glimpse at the lifting of the veil, but then that could be so much farther understood, or there could be so much more to the experience in its own that I don't still understand. So
Yeah.
yeah, understanding this, our will and our courage, and how that really impacts the outcome of in this 3D, material, world. It's very interesting. So I just say, just do your best. Whatever that looks like for you. Sometimes our best, and I've seen that with clients, is literally getting out of bed, taking a shower, and taking your kid to school because there's nothing else you could do. And sometimes it looks like getting on a call or getting on a podcast or writing that book, or, you know, we're all walking different paths and are in different spaces. Like I could have never been aware or able to have and sit down and do this podcast 7 years ago. Never. I was not in that frame of mind, or I just couldn't. It was not possible. So really just having a lot of grace and patience for ourselves while we're in the journey. Trusting the plan and trusting that we're doing the best we can.
Yeah. And sometimes, well, there's the possibility that we're not even supposed to understand, that we're just supposed to navigate.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And also when in times where doing our best seems challenging, just doing something different than we ever did it before can lead us, can pivot us into a different direction. Because I do think expansion is like spherical, right? There's not like a direct. So, and the only way we don't move anywhere is just to do the same thing.
Exactly.
It's not like, even if we kind of eliminate best and worst, it's just like doing something different. That shows the universe, it recognizes that you recognize that you're experiencing something that you've experienced before. It's a prompt, not a trigger, like Michele likes to say. And I'm just going to respond differently.
That's beautiful. That's
To me, that's the biggest, and smallest step that you could take in this now moment, right? Is like you can expand your awareness just by doing something different than you've always done before. Yeah, it's like, if you wake up and you always put on, the white bathrobe, what happens if you actually go with no bathrobe today? What? What could happen? Like crazy could that be? And but it's literally those moments that you're coming into an awareness of choice, right? Like we start to do it with children when they're small, if we're in awareness of helping people to create choices, like, would you like the bananas or would you like the apples? Right? And one choice is going to yield one set of outcomes, another choice is going to yield another set of outcomes. And I think that the igniting of empowerment, we're sometimes looking for the biggest things, like, the big, like, fireworks and the big neon flashing sign, like, hey, look here, look here. And sometimes it's like, oh, right, I'm going to go without the bathrobe today. Like that can actually change your whole trajectory of your day. And you can let your mind kind of wander and wander around that as much or as little as you want. But the metamorphosis that can come just from that little small step, which leads to like this big transformation. And like, I have to ask you, Rosalia, because I'm looking at a blue butterfly behind you. And I have a blue butterfly question. Tell me about the blue butterfly.
Yeah. So I was in a meditation and I was standing at the end of a cliff, and Mother Earth comes to me and she says, "Jump." And I said, "Absolutely not jumping. There's nothing there to catch me. I'm not jumping." Um and she said, "Jump." And I said, "Well, I'm in a meditation. I'm not going to die. Let me just jump, whatever." So I jumped, and I was immediately sustained in this rainbow bridge. But it was only just like slightly. There was no bridge in front of me, but I was sustained right where I was. And then she said, "Sit down." I said, no, I'm gonna fall. Again, I didn't get the message in the first time. I said, no, I'm gonna fall if I sit. There's nowhere to sit. She said, sit down. And I sat down. Another slightly bit of the rainbow bridge appeared, and I was sustained. A little blue butterfly came and landed on my finger. And I was told that I was here to do the blue butterfly, to carry out the blue butterfly mission. And then a lot of different information came forward in regards to the blue butterfly. And then, I stood up once I had that information and kind of like confidently walked, and the bridge would continue to appear. Um, and no questions, just like I got it.
Yes. Leading you, like, literally,
Literally.
multiverse of you. Like the rainbow, I'm just like, wow. And blue, I don't know. Intuitively, I'm just getting this, and I don't know if it resonates with you, Rosalia, but your your throat chakra,
So I had not thought about that. Yeah.
your voice, right? Like that is such an important part of you,
Mm,
your
yeah.
purpose.
Ah, wow. Thank you for that. Yeah, I had not. Hey, you guys, this is kind of like a healing session, kind of like a whole. I'm just like, okay. Thank you. This is so cool.
And Rosalia, so I actually have two more questions. Scott, you're going to like one of the questions. One of them you might not be as into. So the first one is the zebra therapy. I know the next one you'll be into. Could you tell us a little bit about that, Rosalia, and what the significance of that is?
Yeah. So I was dreaming and I started receiving downloads. Okay, you're going to be known for the zebra method. Like, zebra method. And then like all of this information started coming through and I'm like, wait, I have to like write it down, I have to put it somewhere, whatever. And I wrote down as much as I could. And the zebra method has kind of developed as I've worked with the patients as well. So a lot of the way it is I call it coming back to 0 point, to our true essence. We pretty much just open the Akashic records. I teach the patients how to do it themselves. And believe it or not, which I've gotten a lot of interesting responses from other podcasters that have interviewed me, kind of like, oh, the patients are doing it themselves. So basically, um, your soul is literally leading the session, and I am learning beside you from you. I'm
Yes,
not telling you how to do it, when to do it, how to fix your life, but what next steps you need to take. Only you know that.
that's
How,
right.
how am I going to tell you that? But it's really just supporting the remembrance of what you already know how to do. Um, and in case, anything comes up, a trauma comes up or anything comes up, I'm there to support, guide, do a lot of integration and make sure that we do it in a safe way, that it doesn't get beyond something you can't handle at that time. If you do go somewhere, we're multidimensional. Once you access that space, you can go pretty much anywhere. Um, you have to trust the process that your higher self or source or your guides or whatever you believe in is not going to take you into a place where, mm, it's you can't handle per se. But in case you do get in a place where you feel uncomfortable, I feel like I'm very familiar with a lot of I guess, exploration per se, where I can kind of, be there to guide you if you need to come back to a safer place or come back to your own body if we need to, and just kind of for you to feel fully safe and in the space to explore yourself. That's all you're doing, and get whatever it needs to come forward for you. Pretty much that's what the session looks like. So it's an extreme honor to learn from the soul of the person that I have in the session. And there's a lot of stuff that comes through that I'm like, oh, I need to start doing that. Like, oh, this is good information. Like, and I'm there to take notes. It's not recorded because it's confidential. But if the person wants me to take notes, we can. Some people don't like for me to know who their guides are, which is fine as well. So you get to access that and keep that information for you. You don't have to share what comes forward, or if you're stuck, maybe you want to, tell me and we kind of navigate it. So it looks very different and unique for each person. It's not like a cookie cutter thing. Um, but it's so wonderful and so beautiful. And it's food for my soul, I call it. I just feel like if I can help one person remember, come back to themselves, I mean, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, zebra.
That's the name they gave me, Zebra, and that's it. They gave me that name. Oh, and then I made the little logo for it. A client of mine made it. She's an artist, and after going through the zebra method, she's like, Rosie, I made the logo for your zebra. And I said, no way. So it's a butterfly, a blue butterfly with zebra lines. I'm like, oh, this is so beautiful. Like, yeah, that totally makes sense. So it's not even an actual zebra, but it's different.
I love the feeling of the zebra because that color or presence and absence of colors, it's the black and white is reflective of the yin yang to me, and the masculine, feminine. And so landed on me without even knowing why. So
Totally. That was what I was thinking about, was the yin yang. And I was also thinking about just the polarity, if you will, that people believe, right, that really exists, but truly it's all transformation and none of it is opposed, right? It's your position, if you will, you're black and you're white. And so, like linguistic programming, whoever has the most flexibility is going to win in any system. The more flexibility you create, like the butterfly, the metamorphosis, right? And just allow to become a zebra butterfly. Why not? Right? I mean, that's like that's rap combining things, like, whoa, talk about Renaissance, you know? So, okay, Rosalia, we have to ask you because we're curious like that and nosy. If you don't mind telling us your birthday.
Oh yeah, 12/10/89 for sure.
12/10/89. So I was gonna guess that it was a lot of Virgo or Sag energy. Sagittarius. So, Scott, what do you get in from 12/10/89? Scott's kind of the numbers.
I mean, I don't have time to punch it in, but that's you maintain your fire within in a very controlled way. That's pretty intense. I guess what you've done in your life. I don't know, maybe I feel like you're just tapping into it, Rosalia.
Oh, thank you for that.
All right, gosh, I feel like it's the tip of the iceberg for you.
Amen. Thank you. Sounds beautiful.
Sagittarius explosion of
Yeah,
chakra is like,
beliefs,
yeah,
the sharing of the beliefs. No, it's super, super powerful.
yeah.
That's the empowerment that, Rosalia, I would say, is helping others to unleash. And we know for Sacred Mirrors, as we're supporting others, they're supporting us. It's like you said, we learn all the time from those sitting in front of us. I always say to my clients, you're the expert on you. I'm just kind of sort of on a great day, the expert on this, on helping you to remember that you're the expert on you. Yeah.
100%.
And so I think that one of the most important ways that we can ignite some empowerment is just making some new choices, right? As big or as small as those new choices can be, and continuing to commit to expanding consciousness and looking for great people that can support us, like Rosalia. Where can folks find you, Rosalia, if you could tell us the best way to access you and your services?
Best way would be an Instagram, Quantum Alchemist Master. That's the best way they can find me.
Oh, Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. And Scott, bro, I'm going to ask you if you would lead us in an affirmation on out of this great episode.
Yeah, thank you, Rosalia. Again,
Thank you so much to both.
honor. Okay. Simple today. I am not my thoughts. I am my beliefs. And my heart is my compass of intelligence.
Amen. Thank you so much for being with us. Peace be with y'all. Enjoy, be blessed, and we'll see you the next time on Empowerment Unleashed Now. Thank you so much for being here today.